Alright everyone, it's time to finish up the Pure Void Slayer's Fang builds. This was going to be all about the Hunter, and if you haven't seen my Warlock and Titan one, definitely be sure to go check those out. This one is going to follow the theme of being a very aggressive base build, since it's going to be all around the brand new exotic shotgun, and trust me, this build does not disappoint. Whereas the Titan kind of got permanent overshields and damage increases to buff the shotgun, and the Warlock had the little shotgun sidekick, this was going to be based all around going invisible from group to group, constantly killing a ton of ads with just 1 to 2 shots, and also just deleting any majors that you see. It's not only going to be an aggressive build, because there's even some support elements in it as well, and with all that combined together, I think it does make it one of the best and one of the most fun Hunter builds in the game right now. If you haven't got the new exotic yet, I hope this build plus my other 2 I have on the channel can convince you to do it. And if you need anyone to run the exotic mission with, or if you just want to come hang out with our community, I do have a Discord server. I recently revamped it, and one of my goals for 2025 is to make it more active, so if you would like to join that, all the links will be down below, and I truly appreciate it. And as always, if you enjoy this video, consider doing all the normal YouTube stuff. It really does go a long way in helping the channel out, and I truly appreciate that as well. But without further ado, let's jump into one of my new favorite Hunter builds. All right, starting off, let's first take a look at the Slayer's Fang. Now, I'm not going to go super in depth with this, because I think at this point we all kind of know what it does, but it does have Night Sworn Sight, so whenever you get a kill, you're going to get True Sight, reload speed, and precision damage, and the submunitions that it makes from Heart Piercer can also weaken targets, and on top of that, the submunitions can also stun Overload champions. The only main thing I want to note is the fact that I would highly recommend Repulsor Brace with this shotgun, because you will pretty much have permanent void overshields all the time. But if you would like to take something else, you can totally do that as well, but Repulsor Brace is very good with the setup. And for the exotic armor, we're actually going to be running your Falcon's Halberd. This has the exotic perk See Me, Feel Me. Your void weapons gain volatile rounds after you emerge from being invisible. While you are invisible and defeat a combatant while using a finisher, all of your weapons gain bonus damage. You and your nearby allies can reserve overshield and improved class ability regeneration. These reserve overshields can be deployed by using a class ability. So we have another paragraph exotic here, but the main benefit is the fact that when you come out of invisibility, you're going to be granted volatile rounds. Volatile rounds are very strong for this build, because with Slayer's Fang, the submunitions created from it will spread the volatile, and of course the initial shot will as well. This makes it very strong for ad clear, being able to use 1 or 2 shots just to clear out a whole entire room of ads if you do get lucky with the submunitions. But on top of that, it's also very good for just doing extra single target damage with the gun that already can delete enemies. And being that you only have to come out invisibility to proc this means you're going to have permanent volatile rounds 24/7. Now, I do want to mention the other benefit of getting finishers while invisible, because you will get increased damage, you will get increased class ability regeneration, and you will give you and your teammates a reserve overshield. You're going to be able to and want to spam your class ability a lot with this build, so having that reserve overshield and that increased class ability regeneration is very nice. But on top of that, you're going to be going for finishers a lot with this build as well, so this just means you can actually proc this a lot. So whenever you go for a finisher, make sure you are invisible, and you'll get all these additional benefits. The damage increase is nice, but honestly it doesn't last too long, and the main damage increase of the exotic is going to come from the fact that you have volatile rounds all the time. But this also can play into the support aspect as well, because not only are you getting the benefits, your teammates will also get that class ability regen alongside the reserve overshield as well. This exotic does a lot, but if you don't want to stress about any of it, again, just remember, whenever you come out of invisibility, you're going to get volatile rounds. That's how 90% of people are going to use this exotic, and it is one of the strongest parts of it. But let's jump into the subclass to talk about how we're going to make all that even work in the first place. First off, we're just going to be taking Vanishing Step, so dodging makes you invisible. This is pretty self-explanatory. Whenever you do a dodge, you're going to go invisible. That can be your initiator for your Falcons, which is very, very nice. And then on top of that, the dodge I do like to take is Marksman Dodge, because it does have a lower cooldown. You can go with Gambler's Dodge if you'd like to, but Marksman Dodge will actually reload your gun. So this just means now you can reload the Slayer's Fang if you ever need to. You are going to have a ton of reload speed with this, so it's not that crucial, but it is great. You can have a little like dodge lunge to get towards the enemy. You're going to go invisible, you'll reload the shotgun, and you'll have volatile rounds ready to go since the dodge made you invisible. Now, our next aspect is going to be Stylus Executioner. So defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target grants invisibility and True Sight. After performing a Stylus Execution, your next melee attack while invisible weakens targets. This is the most important aspect of the build, because this is what's going to allow you to keep that invisibility and that Falcons up all the time. Since we're going to have permanent volatile, this just means we can always proc this. If there's ever a time where volatile doesn't come into play, even the Slayer's Fang itself can weak targets. That can also proc Styles Executioner as well. And with both of those combined together, this is what's going to allow you to have permanent Volatile. But on top of that, it's also very good for your survivability because you're always going to be invisible. You can get your initial invisibility with Vanishing Step, go kill a group of enemies, go invisible again, go to the next group of enemies, kill them, go invisible again, and throughout all of this, you're going to have permanent volatile rounds on all these enemies that you kill. In all honesty, if you want to take off Vanishing Step and just have the Slayer's Fang be your initial invisibility, since it can apply weaken, you could totally do that as well. Just be aware with Slayer's Fang, you are going to have to proc Nightsworn Sight somehow, and then get a kill to then go on and proc that invisibility. Whereas with Vanishing Step, you can just dodge and have the invisibility ready to go, and then your first shot on the first group of enemies is always going to have volatile ready to go on them. But regardless, between these two aspects, you have your initial invisibility and then your chain invisibility, and it's just going to allow you to stay invisible forever and make it extremely easy to go invisible to begin with. Now for your abilities, the grenades, honestly up to you. Just kind of go with whatever you want to. You will be able to spam these a good amount with some of our fragments. And then for your snare bomb, your melee, this is just a nice little tool to have to weaken enemies if you ever need to. Again, your Slayer's Fang can kind of already do that, but if you ever just need to throw this, it's just a nice little thing to have in your back pocket. Now, for your super, honestly, it's up to you. I like to take Deadfall just to have a good at clear super alongside also just being able to weaken some sort of boss. Kind of plays to the fantasy of Slayer's Fang where it can also add clear and weaken bosses and stuff like that. But honestly, if you want to take Spectral Blades, I've heard these are actually not terrible now with the buffs they got and also the Roma super buffs. But again, it's totally up to you. I just prefer Deadfall. Now for the fragments, Echo Cessation is the first one. So whenever you finish a target, enemies around that finished target will actually become volatile. Whenever you defeat a volatile target, it will make a Void Breach. Since we can always have volatile rounds with Falcons, that means we're always going to be making Void Breaches all the time. Void Breach is going to be very strong for this build for a lot of different reasons. One of the reasons right now is the fact that we can get a class ability energy back whenever we pick a Void Breach up. But on top of that, we will also be taking Echo Starvation. So when we pick an Orb of Power or a Void Breach up, it will grant us Devour. Devour is going to heal us on every kill alongside also granting grenade energy back. This is kind of what I was talking about. Just run whatever grenades you would like to because you can spam them a good amount. But this is just very nice for your survivability as well. Pairing that with the fact that you can also grant yourself a Void Overshield whenever you defeat a weakened target. That means you can just heal, get overshields, and you're pretty much unkillable, especially when you pair that with invisibility. And then next up is Echo of Obscurity. So finisher final blows grant invisibility. Since you want to be able to go for finishers a lot with this build for some of our armor mods, but also your Falcons as well, you can get those additional benefits. This is just nice to have to go invisible. On top of that, you can also pair that with Cessation. So whenever you finish an enemy, you're going to make all the enemies volatile. You're going to go invisible. You're going to get your Falcon benefits and even armor mod benefits once we get into those. So it's a lot going into your finisher with this build. And since you're going to be very aggressive with the shotgun anyway, if you don't get a kill, you can go for the finisher, and it just plays super well into it. It's also another way of going invisible to also keep the flow of your Falcons up, and again, that just leads to permanent volatile rounds. For the final fragment, it is just Echo of Reprisal. So final blows that surround it will grant you super energy. Since this is a very aggressive build, you want to be in their face all the time with a shotgun, you're going to get a lot of benefits out of Echo of Reprisal, and it's going to allow you to spam your super a lot. Again, run whatever super you would like to. It is nice with Spectral Blades because it does have that increased roaming super energy buff, but overall I think the better super is going to be Deadfall. So the playstyle of this build is to basically use your dodge, get in there, be invisible. You're going to run up to a group of enemies, kill them. You're going to spread volatile everywhere, take out all the single targets. You're going to go back invisible again, go to the next group of enemies. Since you're invisible, you're not going to get shot at. Even if you do take some damage, you are healed because of Devour. You also have that Void Overshield as well. But then once you get there, take out the next group of enemies, then sneak up to the next group, and you can kind of just see how the chain keeps going on and on. You just basically just destroy one group of enemies from the inside, go to the next one, and just keep doing it over and over again. Alongside that, you can also play around finishers because they're going to grant you a ton of benefits with this build. And since you're up close and personal anyway, if you ever see a little finisher icon, definitely be sure to do it so you can take advantage of all those benefits as well. Now for the artifact perks, this is what I'm running. It's going to be very similar to my Hunter and Titan build if you have seen those. But first off, just Frenzied Hunger. So Rapid Final Blows on Devour is active. We're granting opponents to reload and handling. Since Nightsworn Sights granting increase your load speed, and we're always going to have Devour, this is just a nice little benefit to reload our shotgun even more if we don't have our class ability up. Plus having that extra handling is nice since we are kind of based around a shotgun. Now Void Renewal, so whenever our Devour is active, our Void Weapon Final Blows has a chance to generate a Void Breach. Again, Void Breach is going to be very good with this build. It pairs with Echo of Cessation, so we can make even more Void Breaches. And then on top of that, with Old God's Right, whenever we pick a Void Breach up, we can spawn this circle like projectile in the air that's just going to come down and shoot on enemies. And then also we can pair that with Supernova, so if we pick a Void Breach up, our next instance of void damage will apply a weakening pulse. This is any void damage. It could be from your weapon, from your subclass, anything like that. I'm pretty sure Old God's Right can also apply it. So picking up a void breach is very, very strong because you're going to get a ton of benefits. And then the other really cool part that not a lot of people know about is the fact that if you do pick a void breach up, it will actually activate Nightsworn Sight, so you can kind of get the initial flow of the gun going without even having to get a kill. So between Nightsworn Sight alongside also getting class ability energy, granting yourself Devour, spawning the shooting projectiles, and the weakening pulse, you can see how picking up Void Breach is going to be very, very good with this build. Now, the next artifact perk is just Power for Pain, so Rapid Final Blows against weakened combatants, grant Devour. You don't really need this one. If you want to swap this out for literally anything else, you can. This is just a nice little safety net, kind of as I've said before, just so you can always make sure you have Devour. You don't have to stress about having to pick an orb up and Void Breach up all the time. This can just let you have it if you ever need it with the initiation. Again, it's really not that important. If you want to swap it out, you can totally do that as well. But one of the main important ones is going to be the thick of it. So Rapid Final Blows that surround it grants you armor charge. You're going to have almost permanent armor charges built literally all the time because of this, because again, you're going to be very aggressive with this build because of Slayer's Fang, so you're just always going to have this all the time, which is very strong because it's going to play heavy into our armor mods. Now, as another little note, if you do want to take something like Total Carnage and Debilitating Wave, since you can play into finishers with this build, you could totally do that as well. I thought I'd mention those, but the main ones are just going to be things like the thick of it, Old God's Right, Supernova, Void Renewal. Those are going to be your go-tos. Now for the stats with this build, definitely just go with the 100 resilience to get your damage reduction. Nothing else matters too much other than your class ability, so I would definitely try to get to 100 mobility if you can. I personally can get more than 70 here, but I like to have the extra energy for my armor mods. But again, with discipline, you don't really need it too much because you do have Devour. For your melee, you can already apply Weaken with your shotgun, so you don't need it too much. I kind of just try to go for an even split here. Again, the main stats are just resilience and mobility. That's what you want to try to get up as much as possible. Now for the armor mods, this is what I'm running if you like to copy it down, but as a further in-depth look, first off, Harmonic Siphon, so Rapid Void Weapon Final Blows can make an orb of power. This is going to be great because we're going to be able to make a ton of orbs with Slayer's Fang because you can kill so many enemies at one time. Again, these orbs are going to grant you extra super energy and also grant you armor charge, which again is going to be very important. Now, next up, Special Ammo Finder. Since we're going to be using our special ammo a lot, we can just get more special ammo, which is great. Then Dynamo, so whenever we use our class ability near targets, we can get extra super energy. Again, we're going to be using our class ability all the time to get that initial invisibility. Now we just get some extra super energy, pairing that out with our fragment. We're going to be able to spam our supers a lot. Now for our arms, I do like to take a harmonic loader so I can increase the reload speed on my void weapons alongside a momentum transfer. So whenever I cause damage to the grenade, I will get melee cooldown. And then impact induction, so whenever I cause damage with a power melee, I will get grenade cooldown. Both of these just synergize together. You can kind of get the wombo combo. The arms honestly really don't have much going on for this build. You don't even really need the harmonic loader as well, so you can kind of just swap these out for literally whatever you want to. If you just want to go into like a void dexterity to make the feel of Slayer's Fang feel a little bit better, you can totally do that as well. But again, we're really not taking advantage of melee or grenades with this build, so these are kind of just up to you. This is just what I opted in to take. Now for the chest piece, always go with resistant mods. Just be sure to swap these out for whatever content you're going into. And then for the boots, I do like to take triple void weapon surge. This is going to be a 22% damage increase that can stack with other buffs in the game, and all you have to do is have armor charge. Since we can have armor charge all the time because of the orbs we're making and also the thick of it, you will literally have a permanent 22% damage increase. And with all three of these, this is just going to allow your Slayer's Fang to get those one shots even easier. Now for the class item, I do like to take a time dilation, so my decay and armor charge just lasts a little bit longer. This just means we'll have a longer uptime of our void weapon surge. And then next up, just powerful attraction, so whenever we dodge near orbs of power, this just means we'll be able to pick all the orbs up. Again, when we dodge near enemies, we're getting super energy. Picking up the orbs grants super energy, and then on top of that, it will also grant us armor charge because picking up orbs will grant armor charge. Then finally, for the last mod, I know it might seem a little out of place because we are running triple void weapon surge, but special ammo finisher. This is going to be great because whenever we're at 3 stacks of armor charge, we can actually finish an enemy to get special ammo. Typically, you wouldn't pair these two together, but with the amount of orbs we can make, and then on top of having the thick of it, you will literally always have at least one armor charge stack. And since that one armor charge stack will have increased amount of time, regardless of using special ammo finisher, you will still have a permanent uptime of the weapon surge. And since it is so easy to get the armor charges back, you're pretty much going to always have ×3 literally all the time, even as soon as after you use a special finisher. One tip I will give is to make sure you are very low on special ammo before you try to use special ammo finisher, or just completely out. If you're at like 12 shotgun shots, I wouldn't recommend you use a special finisher unless you are trying to go for the benefits that your Falcons can give, and alongside all the other stuff that we kind of already went over in the build. But for the most part, try to go for finishers when you're really low on ammo. You're going to get more ammo to use, and again, you don't really have to stress about Void Weapon Surge because of all the ways to get armor charge with this setup, and then also the increased duration of it. Not only is good, just again, so you don't have to stress about it, but also you have a longer time to have those 3 stacks to proc special ammo finisher. I know I said a lot right there, but just be aware that you're going to have this permanent damage decrease regardless of using special ammo finisher, and just make sure you use special ammo finisher when you are low on special. Don't just try to like willy-nilly do this all the time when you have 3 armor charge stacks. But special ammo finisher is very strong with this build, since the whole build is based around using a special ammo weapon. But now for the final part of the build, this is the Transmog I'm running. I definitely went for a very hunter themed look. I don't normally use the super black shader, but I actually think it turned out looking pretty cool here with all the little void accents that we do have. I took advantage of the new Falcons ornament alongside the boots that it pairs with it, and some of the void armor in general for the hunter. I think it turned out looking pretty cool, and if you want to make your hunter look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. Anyway, so that's going through it all for this build. Let me know what y'all think about in the comments below. Not only is this a very aggressive build, but it's also kind of supportive. Obviously, you're going to be able to just run around and destroy things with a shotgun while being invisible, but you also have to remember you can give your teammates overshields, you can give your teammates class ability generation, you can give your teammates weaken pretty much with everything in your kit. So overall, not only are you going to be able to be very strong with this setup, but you can also buff your teammates as well. And I think with all that, I think it does have competition to be one of the best hunter builds in the game right now. It's super fun, it's super effective, and it's one I would highly recommend you all give a shot. Anyway, so that's going through it all for me. I wish you all the best of luck putting this build together for yourself. If you would like to join my Discord, all the links will be down below. But I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.